You sometimes find with these teachings, these so-called Advaita teachings, which are quite popular in the West these days, there is it seems to me that they describe some essential truths, but we've got to be very careful what we imply from these truths. There should be no implications. I think some of even the most discerning teachers fall into this trap or this mistake of somehow trying to extol the benefits of this teaching. Perhaps there might be health benefits, physical health benefits. Perhaps it might help you live longer. Perhaps it's good for psychotherapeutic reasons. I think in terms of, there might be all sorts of reasons, and it might be helpful in terms of what we call the human potential movement, or the self-development movement, or self-help. That's not what this teaching is about. It is simply pointing us to how things really are, and we shouldn't try and justify any other kind of therapy or healing or philosophy based on it. But this is what the Yoga Vasistha does. It's trying to justify the imposition of a moral order on all living things, or even non-living things, depending on your station in life. These are your just rewards for your past behaviour, your past actions, which is a very constricting and limiting teaching. It's fixing things, it's putting people in boxes, and the Yoga Vasistha is essentially about removing boxes, about opening us up to the infinite consciousness that is apparent in every moment of experiencing. So it's a slightly dodgy passage we're on at the moment. Sarasvati continued, all these departed souls experiencing within themselves the fruition of their own past actions. She's talking about the point of death. At first there is the notion, I am dead, and then I am being carried away by the messengers of the god of death. The righteous among them fancy that they are taken to heaven, and the ordinary sinners fancy that they're standing in the court of the god of death, where, with the help of Chitragupta, which is the hidden record of one's deeds, they are being tried and judged for their past life. So here we've got the day of judgment in Hinduism. Whatever the jiva sees, that the jiva experiences. For in this empty space of infinite consciousness, there is nothing known as time, action, etc. In other words, everything is mind created. So underneath this, there is this profound teaching that everything is mind created. And the term here used for this is the jiva fancies. The jiva, the individual psyche, has this notion, and therefore it happens. Then the jiva fancies, the god of death has sent me to heaven or hell, and I have enjoyed or suffered the pleasures or tortures of heaven or hell, and I am born as animal, etc., as ordained by the god of death. At that moment the jiva enters into the body of the male through the food eaten. It is then transferred to the female and delivered into this world, where it undergoes life again in accordance with the fruition of past actions. There it grows and wanes like the moon. Once again it undergoes senility and death. This goes on again and again till the jiva is enlightened by self-knowledge. So the jiva enters through the food. Okay, let's make no comment about that. The enlightened Leela asked, O goddess, but please tell me how all this began in the very beginning. How did the whole process get kick-started? Sarasvati replied, the mountains, the forest, the earth and the sky, all these are but infinite consciousness. That alone is the very being of all, the reality in all, and hence that pure infinite consciousness appeared to become whatever form it took whenever it manifested itself. Till now it continues to be so. So basically she's just saying everything is as it is. I think that's the best explanation of how things came to be, is everything is just as it is. When the life breath enters into the bodies and begins to vibrate the various parts of the bodies, it is said that those bodies are living. But then the wisdom says that we do not have a body, but the body is a notion, just like the world is a notion. It's an idea. So it seems to be, this passage is a little bit limited, and I suspect it's written by somebody else in this school who is just playing around with ideas. Such living bodies existed right in the beginning of creation. When those bodies into which the life breath had entered did not vibrate, they were known as trees and plants. It is indeed a small part of the infinite consciousness that becomes the intelligence in these bodies. This intelligence, entering into the bodies, brings into being the different organs like the eyes. Whatever this consciousness thinks it is, it takes that form. Thus, this self of all exists in all bodies, with motion as the characteristic of moving bodies, immovability as the characteristic of the immovable bodies. Thus do all these bodies continue to be even now. Yeah, there's a certain idea that the present author is having trouble with, and that is this person is not able to let go of the notion of a body. It's the teaching of a body and some kind of immortal soul, which has no validity whatsoever. But it is part of the Hindu teaching, the Hindu way of looking at things, and so the author is trying to, or the author of this part of the text is trying to reconcile that, and you can't reconcile it, so it comes across as a little bit iffy. But the main point is, whatever this consciousness thinks it is, it takes that form. And we don't need to sort of try and justify any subsequent form of classification. We don't need to try and justify any further consequence of the cognitive process.